Good morning, I'm Trevor Alt.
And I'm Elizabeth Herr. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, the extreme weather.
In Pennsylvania, authorities say a tree hit by lightning crashed onto a tent pavilion at a swim club, injuring 9 people, including several children. 2 adults and 7 kids were triaged at the scene and then rushed to the hospital.
Heavy winds also sent trees crashing down across North Carolina this weekend. More strong storms are expected today from D.C. to New York City.
Number 2, the string of new arrests involving mass shooting threats.
The latest is a 20-year-old self-proclaimed white supremacist arrested for allegedly threatening to attack a Jewish community center in Ohio. Police say James Reardon posted this video to Instagram of him firing a semi-automatic weapon.
Authorities also found a large collection of rifles, dozens of rounds of ammunition, a gas mask, and bulletproof armor after raiding the suspect's home. Reardon is due in court this morning.
On to number 3, Hong Kong is bracing for more street protests amid the looming threat of a military intervention by China.
Organizers claim 1.7 million pro-democracy protesters took over the streets on Sunday, defying police orders. Observers say China now has a dilemma. The communist government could look weak if it offers concessions.
Or it could risk economic penalties from other nations if it cracks down on the protesters.
At number 4, President Trump is downplaying concerns that the country is facing a recession.
After that steep drop on Wall Street last week, the president and his top economic advisors are painting a rosy picture. They're defending the trade war with China and insisting that the economy is doing well.
I don't see a recession. I mean, the world is in a recession right now. And although that's too big a statement, but if you look at China, China's doing very, very poorly. I don't think we're having a recession. We're doing tremendously well. Our consumers are rich. I gave a tremendous tax cut, and they're loaded up with money.
Even though the president insists the trade war is not harming Americans, he's still delaying new tariffs on certain goods from China.
He claims China is ready to make a deal, but he says he's not ready. And finally, at number 5, the Little League World Series has produced the most unique batting stance of the year. A Venezuelan player nicknamed Chicken Little used this low-to-the-ground look to shrink his strike zone. He does it on the first pitch to try to make the pitcher throw a ball. It did not work this time.
But he did get some love from a big league star. Cleveland's Yasiel Puig showed that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. We've got much more to talk about coming your way.
It's Morning America.
Do I go first?
By all means.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Janae and Kenneth are off. I'm Elizabeth Herr.
I'm Trevor Alt filling in. We've got Elizabeth stepping in a pinch.
I am.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to mention this is your first time
Very
on the
first
anchor
time.
desk here.
Yes, very happy to be here.
How are you feeling? Happy and tired?
Both of those things in spades, for sure. Absolutely. But it's been great. It's been a ton of fun.
Welcome. You're doing a great job. But let's get to the day's big story. Several new alleged plots to carry out mass shootings with the nation on edge after the recent attacks in Texas and Ohio. Authorities now say they've foiled 3 plots, including that threat targeting a Jewish center in Ohio. New details are emerging about the suspect. ABC's Serena Marshall is here with more. Good morning, Serena.
Trevor, Elizabeth, good morning to both of you. And these are all really the result of if you see something, say something. In Ohio, it was the result following a social media post they saw that the suspect had posted. Well, in Florida, the suspect's girlfriend had alerted police to some text messages that he sent.
Another mass shooting averted.
Do you have any weapons we need to know about?
Police arresting 25-year-old Tristan Wicks of Daytona Beach, Florida, discovering a hunting rifle and 400 rounds of ammunition at his apartment. It came following a tip from his ex-girlfriend, who he allegedly sent a series of disturbing messages like this one. Writing, "A school is a weak target. I'd be more likely to open fire on a large crowd of people from over 3 miles away."
He talks about how he wants to die in his text messages, and when he dies, he wants to kill 100 people.
His arrest coming the same day as 20-year-old James Reardon Jr. in Ohio. Police say he posted this disturbing video online with the caption, "Police identify shooter in Youngstown Jewish Family Center as a local white nationalist." A Friday raid led to a cache of weapons, ammunition, a gas mask, and bulletproof armor seized from his home.
With the hate crimes and everything else going on, we wanted to make sure that we did our part.
Police claiming in their affidavit, Reardon attended the deadly 2017 Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. Lately, the FBI has been seeking the public's help combating domestic terrorism.
What motivates mass shooters is power and control.
Just last week, a Connecticut man who police said showed an interest in committing a mass shooting arrested, and followed the arrests of 2 men with alleged ties to white supremacy, one in Las Vegas accused of plotting to blow up a synagogue or gay bar, and another in Florida.
FBI officials recently warned members of Congress about domestic terrorism, saying they currently have 850 open investigations. Trevor, Elizabeth.
Serena Marshall, thank you.
Well, President Trump has confirmed that he has discussed the idea of buying Greenland, comparing the prospect to a large real estate deal.
That's right. Speaking Sunday afternoon, the president cited the strategic benefits of owning the world's largest island, which already houses a U.S. military base. Greenland is a semi-autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but the president seems to think it's just a big piece of real estate.
Essentially, it's a large real estate deal. A lot of things could be done. It's hurting Denmark very badly because they're losing almost $700 million a year carrying it. So they carry it at a great loss. And strategically for the United States, it would be nice.
So officials in Greenland say the island is not for sale. The Danish prime minister called Trump's idea absurd.
Iran may be preparing to attempt another satellite launch amid heightened tensions with the U.S. Recent satellite images show increased activity at a space center south of Tehran after 2 failed launches earlier this year. Plans for the next one reportedly involve getting a telecommunications satellite into orbit. Despite U.S. accusations, Iran has long insisted it's not pursuing nuclear weapons, saying its launches and rockets tests have no military component. A deadly plane crash is under investigation in Delaware.
Yeah, both people on board were killed when the single-engine aircraft went down just after taking off from Wilmington Airport yesterday morning. Police say there was a distress call shortly before the plane crashed. Reports say the pilot was a retired member of the Army Air Cavalry. Hong Kong is preparing for more protests this week. This is after thousands defied police orders not to gather on Sunday. The pro-democracy protesters took over the streets, but unlike previous weekends, there were no bloody clashes. ABC's Ian Pannell is in Hong Kong with more.
Just incredible scenes here in Hong Kong as hundreds of thousands of people flooded onto the streets. Now, one estimate, this is from the organisers only, is that there were 1.7 million people. That means a quarter of the entire population of this city turned out and took to the streets in the middle of torrential rain. Despite the elements, despite the threats that had come from the authorities, the police had said that they didn't have permission to go on this march, but nevertheless they held this huge rally. But so many people turned up, it was impossible to contain them there. They then started to file downtown, taking over the streets. It was also peaceful. Remember, we have seen seasons of violence over the last few weeks, but that didn't happen during this day of protest. Now, for the organisers, they're very clear. It's now or never. We've been here before in Hong Kong in 2014. They didn't achieve concessions. This time they say they won't leave. And the Chinese government making clear that if the authorities here in Hong Kong can't deal with this crisis, then they can. They have the solutions, they have the power, even releasing video of Chinese paramilitary police just 20 miles away from here, just across the border into mainland China, carrying out these military-style drills with armoured vehicles, lots of troops rallying, marching and shouting. However, it's difficult for China to send them across the border. Firstly, I feel the protesters are determined. They're not going to leave these streets. They're going to stay out here until they get their concessions. For China, if it makes concessions, it risks setting a dangerous precedent. If it cracks down, the world is watching and the world can respond economically. President Trump already saying that if China doesn't respond to this humanely, then it will find it difficult to do a trade deal with the mainland. Ian Pannell, ABC News in Hong Kong.
One of the best running backs in college football history is dead after a motorcycle crash. Former University of Texas star Cedric Benson and a female passenger died Saturday night in Midland, Texas. 2 other people were injured. Benson was voted college football's top running back in 2004. He helped Chicago reach Super Bowl 41 in 2007. A number of current and former players and coaches have reacted to Benson's death on social media. Cedric Benson was 36.
Now to haunting images from El Paso. 22 hearses representing the 22 victims of that shooting. They carried thousands of floral arrangements sent from around the world for the funeral of Margie Ricard. She was killed during the rampage. Thousands turned out for her funeral over the weekend. Her husband invited the public because he has no living relatives.
Well, we got to talk about a South Dakota woman who diagnosed herself with kidney stones, and then after she sought treatment, she has now been given some sleepless nights filled with changing diapers.
You can say that again. Earlier this month, Danette Glitz was rushed to a hospital with severe pains in her back and gut. She left a few days later with triplets. Blaze, Gypsy, and Nikki were born 9 days ago, much to the surprise of their mom and dad. Their mother has had kidney issues and kids in the past, and she says this one was a shocker.
Started getting pains, figured it was kidney stones, because I went through them before. We're still in shock. Trust me, we know what you mean. Like, I go to the doctors thinking I'll have surgery for kidney stones. End up going in labor with C-section that night. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, what's crazy is this. Once doctors figured out Danette was pregnant, they told her to prepare for twins. The doctors discovered the third baby while she was in labor. Her husband's reaction was, according to her, "Excuse me, put it back."
Right. I'm not sure that that's a hospital procedure, but I understand his surprise.
Kidney stones, triplets. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, kidney stones are painful, but not giving birth 3 times level painful. Even worse.
I cannot imagine it.
Yeah, pretty rough. A New York City condo owner has been busted for apparently squeezing a very tight housing market. He's reportedly divided his 630 square foot duplex into 11 micro apartments. The reports say some units had ceilings that were just 4.5 feet high, and 9 people were living in that condo. Officials shut down a similar unit in that same building that had 7 residents. Well, coming up, the controversy around Weight Watchers and its new program for kids.
Why some parents are calling for a boycott after this.
Welcome back. Now to a growing controversy involving Weight Watchers. The company has unveiled a special diet app for kids.
Some parents are calling the app dangerous and immoral. It's even prompted the hashtag #WakeUpWeightWatchers. This morning, Weight Watchers under fire for its new weight loss app for children. The app called Condo targets children ages 8 to 17, aiming to help them reach a healthier weight by keeping track of what they eat. It also features what the company calls a scientifically proven method called the traffic light system. Green is for foods you can eat anytime, like fruits and vegetables. Yellow is for foods that require portion control, and red for things like soda and candy. But the app is raising concerns with parents and nutritionists alike.
My initial thought when I heard about the app was, terrible idea. This is not the direction we need to be going with teaching children to feel better about themselves and to live healthier lives.
The app includes so-called success stories that feature before and after photos of children as young as 8, highlighting how much weight they have lost and how they did it. And now, thousands have signed a Change.org petition to take the app down, calling it dangerous, immoral, and irresponsible.
It may seem that our language is really alarmist to call an app dangerous, immoral, and irresponsible, but we don't think it's alarmist at all. 30 million people in the U.S. of all different ages and genders and races suffer from an eating disorder, which is a mental illness.
In response, Weight Watchers said in a statement, Condo is about helping the whole family put healthier habits in place. Weight Watchers went on to say the program is about helping the whole family get healthy, and it aims to encourage young people to choose healthy foods and understand the importance of physical activity. And that is our question of the day. Is Weight Watchers over the line with this app, or are they just trying to help families eat healthier? Tell us what you think in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live.
Well, right now, the U.S. is calling for an acceleration of ongoing talks aimed at ending the war in Afghanistan after the latest horrific attack on civilians.
A suicide blast ripped through a wedding hall in Kabul, packed with 1,200 people, bringing the joyous celebration to a tragic end with dozens dead and many more wounded. Let's go across the pond to ABC's Julia McFarlane in the London Bureau for more. Good morning to you, Julia.
Morning, Elizabeth. Morning, Trevor. That's exactly right. As you say, the Trump administration is currently negotiating with the Taliban. But as this weekend proves, getting a deal with those militants may not necessarily bring peace to the country, especially since ISIS is becoming increasingly active there since it's losing its footholds in Iraq and Syria.
That most universal, joyful celebrations of love turning into tragedy. A wedding in Kabul, followed by funerals. After a suicide bomber, surrounded by families with their children, detonated his explosives by the stage. More than 60 lives lost in that moment and nearly 200 injured. The groom devastated. "I've lost hope. I've lost my brother, my friends who came to join my wedding party," he said. ISIS claiming responsibility for the attack that came just a day after President Trump hosted a meeting in Bedminster with his Afghan envoy and top cabinet officials on the current negotiations with the Taliban.
We're there for one reason. We don't want that to be a laboratory. Okay? It can't be a laboratory for terror.
President Trump has been pushing to significantly draw down troop levels in Afghanistan.
Well, today is Afghan Independence Day, and Afghans woke up this morning to reports of more violence, reports of explosions across Jalalabad city. Guys?
Well, Julia, we want to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Obviously, it's huge here. Also, a big story overseas because there's this new denial from Buckingham Palace in response to some allegations about Prince Andrew that he had contact with one of Epstein's young accusers. What have you learned?
Exactly. This is a deeply uncomfortable story for the royal families. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, he has previously been associated with Jeffrey Epstein. He was pictured in 2010 walking in Central Park with Epstein. But over the weekend, new footage emerged of Prince Andrew inside the disgraced financier's apartment in Manhattan. Now, Buckingham Palace has come out. It's the first time they've responded to the most recent allegations, and Prince Andrew has said that he's appalled by the sex abuse claims surrounding his former friend. Buckingham Palace releasing a statement on his behalf saying the Duke of York has been appalled by the recent reports of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. His Royal Highness deplores the exploitation of any human being and the suggestion that he would condone, participate in or encourage any such behavior is abhorrent. Now, according to court filings which were recently opened, there is a young woman who claims when she was 17 years old, under the age of consent, she was made to have sex with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions. Those allegations the royal family completely deny.
And finally, Julia, switching gears to Iceland. In mourning, the nation held a funeral for a glacier. What's that all about?
Exactly. Picture the scene, a mournful congregation. We are gathered here today, dearly beloved, to mark the death of a glacier. Now, this is a glacier which was pronounced dead. I love that, personally. It was pronounced dead in 2014 when it was no longer thick enough to move. Now, the glacier has a name. He or she or it, perhaps, is called Okjokul. And the glacier died at the age of about 700. Now, this is, of course, you guessed it, a climate change protest. They held this funeral marking the death of this huge glacier. And they also laid a plaque in copper commemorating this. And they write a message to the future generations about how they are currently failing to tackle climate change and they've got hope for the future. And also with the current reading of the amount of carbon dioxide in the air at the moment.
We barely knew ye, glacier.
Exactly.
All right. Julia McFarlane over in London. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks, Julia. Let's check out our notifications. Starting with a town in Wales that's come up with a plan to address the age-old problem of people having sex in public bathrooms.
It is a disgrace. Planners in Porthcawl are considering installing violent movement sensors in the stalls. Any excessive activity would cause the doors to open and sound a high-pitched alarm and then trigger jets of water. The bathrooms would also have weight-sensitive floors to make sure that only one person could be in a cubicle at a time. Apparently, that's a pressing problem in Porthcawl. Coming up next, we have moving on to next, not coming up next, right now, we have a new world record. Watch these two people stacking chips. They pulled this off, a stack of 69 chips in just 1 minute. That is impressive. We had to speed it up so you could watch how fast it is. But that is pretty good from teamwork's sake.
I was just going to say 69 chips. I think we can do that too.
You think so? More than one a second?
Oh, you're good at math. Or is it the time of day? I'm like 69.
Yeah, I wouldn't give you too much credit for that. We can give the credit to them. Yes. Job well done.
Job well done, but I still think we can do it. Okay.
I appreciate that.
I think we've seen that video enough. Let's move on to the next one because we cannot get enough of this. This audience that you're looking at, they're guide dogs in training. They need to be able to go wherever their partner goes. And so that means they may take in a movie every now and then. What's happening here, they're actually serving as the audience at a Billy Elliot concert show, I understand.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just need to know not to react to loud noises or any sudden happenings.
Yep. Some good boys in that crowd.
Ah, so precious.
For sure.
Yes.
Job well done, dogs. And here is a cute koala. This is a house guest. This is in Australia. Guy hears a knock on his door in the middle of the night. Not really a knock, but he heard some noise outside. And that's who's there. That koala bear waiting for him, peeking around the corner, perhaps asking to be let in.
Oh.
We couldn't reach the koala for comment, but
so cute.
It's possible. If you ever cried at work, this is a bummer of a story, but you're not alone.
A new survey from Monster.com says 8 out of 10 admit they have, and almost half say it's because of their bosses or colleagues. Only a handful said it was because of the workload.
And even worse, 1 in 7 employees say they break down at work at least once a week. An analyst at Monster says all of that crying is a sign of toxic work environments. No kidding.
Now, I will say I have not cried here, of course not, but I've cried at work. It happens.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you have? No?
I don't, not that I can remember. I mean, obviously things happen. There's nothing wrong with you got to cry. Express yourself. Let it out.
Thank you.
But if you're crying once a week at work and you can get another job, I would say that you should probably pursue that.
Tough.
Once a week?
You are tough.
I'm not blaming the person. I'm saying it's not their fault, but I'm saying that's a
true.
sign. That's too much.
The study says so.
Right.
It's a toxic
It's
work
science.
environment. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've cried once a week, but I have. So I hear you.
Yeah, we have sympathy for everybody. Yes. All right. Coming up, why Colin Kaepernick is facing off with Jay-Z over his new partnership with the NFL.
Kaepernick is on Instagram calling out the music mogul. More after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. Congresswomen Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar will hold a press conference on travel restrictions to Palestine and Israel and potential policy responses following Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to deny them entry. The event will include people directly impacted by the travel restrictions.
The Democrats running for president are on the campaign trail speaking at the Native American Presidential Forum in Sioux City, Iowa. The forum will focus on Native American issues, including murdered and missing Indigenous women. And the Southern Poverty Law Center will hold a press conference on a class action lawsuit against ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. You can watch that right here on ABC News Live at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to The Debrief for an update on all our top stories and The Briefing Room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
Turning now to the growing controversy over rapper Jay-Z's new partnership with the NFL.
It got one prominent player calling foul, and joining us now with the latest is our Will Gans. Will, good morning.
Good morning, you guys.
So this is interesting because these are people that usually are supporting each other.
Correct.
And we're seeing a big old split.
There's a long history of them supporting each other, but you're right. This morning, Different story. Yeah, the online firestorm is growing. Many people angry at Jay-Z for flip-flopping, once taking a stand against the NFL and now striking a deal with them.
An NFL matchup involving some major names this morning. But this conflict is brewing off the field. Just days after Jay-Z announced a partnership with the NFL, Colin Kaepernick is weighing in. The former 49ers quarterback posting an Instagram Sunday celebrating the players who continue to protest, writing that they, quote, have never moved past the people. Kaepernick seemingly firing back at this comment from Jay-Z's press conference with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Okay, I think we've passed kneeling. I think it's time to go into actionable items.
Cap made headlines in 2016, kneeling during the national anthem to protest social injustices in minority communities. And in the past, Jay-Z has been a vocal supporter of him.
An iconic figure for the rest of your life.
Now, many criticizing the rapper's decision to work with the NFL, including Kaepernick's girlfriend, who wrote on Instagram, "It's typical for the NFL to buy different PR looks to cover up their dirt. That's nothing new. But what is disgusting and disappointing is Jay-Z let them use him." But several celebs have come to Jay-Z's defense. DJ Khaled telling paparazzi Jay-Z continues to do a lot for people in his community. And Cardi B saying she's hopeful Jay-Z can leverage the partnership to, quote, bring back Colin Kaepernick.
Jay-Z offering an explanation for his decision, saying the NFL has a great big platform. They were willing to do some things to make some changes, that we can do some good. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Right. But Twitter right now is kind of, not happy with Jay-Z. So
I mean, do we have any idea what those changes are that the NFL is making?
Not yet. We'll have to see how that plays out. Enough about that, though. The headline I want to get to this morning. How are you guys doing on the overnight shift? You look great.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
All things considered, we've got 2 anchors with 3 shows
under my belt.
Yes, and 0 hours of sleep. And it's been okay so far. We've avoided catastrophe so far.
The coffee is flowing, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Yes. All right.
We need to say bye now. Bye, everybody.
I know. I didn't realize that was the last bit.
We're learning.
Yes.
First show.